Fallout 3 has over 100 weapons in the base game alone, but what if you wanted to use a single weapon for the entire game, or a group of weapons that all dealt a specific effect? In today's video, we'll be finding out if you can beat Fallout 3 using only electric. New game, new name, same old tutorial, which means breaking out of baby jail, involuntarily killing a radroach, skipping the goat, and fleeing the vault. Now, let's talk stats. I went with 9 intelligence for the skill points and 6 endurance, since that's the one special skill that directly affects the unarmed skill, which I found to be really weird. Before researching for the challenge, I thought strength affected the unarmed skill, but it doesn't. Only melee weapons and things like how much you can carry and how far you can throw grenades. Endurance affects your health, how long you can hold your breath underwater, and how hard you can hit with unarmed weapons. Not sure if you knew that already, but I was baffled by it. Tag skills were unarmed, repair, and explosives. So it turns out there's 3 electrical weapons in the base game: the shocker, a unique power fist, pulse grenades, and pulse mines. The only catch is that these really only work against robots, and the last time I checked, you don't go up against that many of them. It's mostly wild animals, super mutants, and Enclave soldiers. But that just makes it more challenging, which is a good thing, I think. Outside the vault I hit level 2, increasing lockpick, science, and unarmed for obvious reasons. The perk was Black Widow, but not for the same reason I had during the poison run. Instead of choosing it for the unique dialogue, I wanted the 10% damage increase against male enemies. The majority of the Enclave, raiders, and other human NPCs are male, so by choosing this, the game should be a little easier. My first step to completing the challenge was heading to Springvale, solely to collect the Pugilism Illustrated magazine in the mailbox. Reading this would increase the unarmed skill by 1 point. It's not much, but it's something. After that, I disarmed the Megaton bomb, grabbed the strength bobblehead, and fixed the leaky pipes. Inside the water treatment plant I hit level 3, increasing unarmed, repair, and medicine. Also choosing the Swift Learner perk for more experience points. With Megaton complete, I headed out to grab the main weapon of the challenge, the shocker. This lay at the very bottom of the flooded metro, where many Mirelurk called home, more on those later. On the way to the flooded metro, I encountered raiders, like a lot of raiders. I skirted Fairfax, which wasn't ideal, and then came across a raider initiation. I could have gone the other way, but it would have taken quite a while, so I pulled up my pants and started running. Above ground was a Pulowski shelter, which, out of habit, I opened up. Inside was the remains of a Chinese spy, along with a pulse grenade. I hadn't actually planned to find any of these, only use them if I did, so this was a good find. Below ground was a different story. The flooded metro was a bad place. Small, narrow corridors, combined with numerous Mirelurks, is not my idea of fun. Especially when you have to pass them all over again to get back to the surface. Even with the shocker, there was simply too many of them to fight. I actually ended up going the wrong way and surfaced inside the DC ruins. Luckily, this wasn't a no fast travel challenge, so you know what happened next. With a weapon on hand, I traveled towards the Citadel. I was going to use this place to fast travel later on, but there was something I wanted to get while I had the chance. East of the Citadel is this little pier with a broken boat jutting from the river. The 2 footlockers over the water are locked, and there's zero chance my lockpick skill will be high enough to get inside. But by jumping in and looting the boat, we can find the captain's key, along with some other useful items. Inside the lockers are 2 power fists which we can use to repair the shocker, whenever that may be. And if you do plan on trying this challenge for yourself, these power fists will always be here. With that done, I was ready to get on with the main quest. Heading straight for Smith Casey's and Vault 112, The mole rats inside only took 2 standard hits or 1 charged attack, about the same as a vicious dog, which was my first kill with the shocker. Heading underground, I went into the simulation, played the weirdest xylophone in my entire life, and rescued Dad. After agreeing to follow him to Rivet City, I hit level 4, increasing unarmed to 69, and choosing the Iron Fist perk. This perk adds an additional 5 points of damage to unarmed weapons, not the skill, but the actual weapon itself. So before the perk, the shocker did 20 points of damage, and now it did 25. It's also worth mentioning that robots already received an additional 5 points of damage thanks to the electrical effect, and with the perk, that also increased. So while the shocker did 25 points of damage to everything else, robots now took 30. Even though I agreed to go with Dad to Rivet City, I fast traveled to the Citadel to save time and swam across the river. On the other side, I killed several super mutants, and they were surprisingly easy, only taking 2 charged attacks to kill. However, super mutant brutes were worlds apart when compared to the standard super mutant. I'd always known they were tougher, but by how much was ridiculous, taking just over 5 charged attacks to kill. After killing the mutants and freeing the captive, I went to Rivet City's marketplace. Flak didn't have any weapons I could use, but he did have a radiation suit that would be useful later on. At the science lab, Dad convinced the scientists to give Project Purity another go. I grabbed the intelligence bobblehead and began clearing the Jefferson Memorial, where I hit level 5, increasing repair and unarmed, and choosing the Child at Heart perk, you know why. As always, the Enclave showed up, ruining everyone's day, and I was curious to see how the power armor would fare against the Shocker's EMP. I thought maybe the armor, especially Tesla, would be affected and maybe receive some additional damage. Sadly, it didn't, and the soldiers were somewhere between a super mutant and super mutant brute in terms of difficulty. I also noticed that dealing with more than one enemy was a real problem, especially when it's 2 Enclave soldiers. When they're on their own, you can sometimes stun them and finish them off without taking too much damage, but every now and then they'll backtrack while shooting, and that can really strip your health, and when there's another one shooting from the sidelines, things go downhill pretty quick. Back at the Purifier, Dad sacrificed himself and the babysitting began. The ghouls only took a single hit, so they weren't really a problem, but the group really struggled to keep up this time, and by the time we surfaced outside the Citadel, only Dr. Lee was left. Walking towards the Citadel, I hit level 6, and then it dawned on me. I had yet to collect the unarmed bobblehead, so I increased unarmed to 89. I still had that pugilism illustrated from Springvale. Combining that and the unarmed bobblehead would max it out. I also chose the second rank of Iron Fist, increasing the shocker by another 5 points of damage, and something told me I was going to need all the help I could get once I was inside Vault 87. Before going in and listening to Elder Lions, I fast traveled to Smith Casey's, the closest location to Rocopolis, the hidden city where the bobblehead could be found. A random encounter can appear outside of Rocopolis. For me, it was a Yao Guai who just finished with 2 Wastelanders. We traded hits, but I was victorious, and the hunters had a lot of meat on them, which I was really happy about. Inside, I said hello to Argyle, grabbed the bobblehead, and fast traveled back to the Citadel. While there, I got Paladin Gunny to give me power armor training, and Scribe Rothschild to show me where Vault 87 was. After he had, I set out for Little Lamplight. On the way, the wildlife just wouldn't leave me alone, but I was happy for the extra food. At Little Lamplight, the talking butt let me inside, and this time I did something a little different to the previous challenge. There's 2 ways to make it to Vault 87. You can either get MacCready to open the gate to Murder Pass, or ask Joseph to turn on the power to a much quicker and less deadly way through a side door. The only fuss is that you have to hack the terminal. This was an electric only run, and I figured if there was a way of doing something electrical, then by God that's what I was gonna do. However, my science skill was 23 points short. If I was going to hack the terminal, then I was gonna have to level up. I settled on heading to Canterbury Commons and completing the Superhuman Gambit quest. I had the shocker that dealt additional damage to robots, and the mechanist had an ample supply. Plus, I wanted to pay a visit to a certain Robo-Brain. When I got to Canterbury Commons, I was curious to see if I could kill them as soon as I met them, and the fact is you can kill their minions, but not them. I think they're marked as essential until the quest is started to prevent players from missing out. I spoke to Uncle Ro, accepted the quest, and went to the Robco Repair Center, killing everything I could. After I saw the mechanist, I was sure the fight would be a good one. I was wrong. I didn't bother with the antagonizer and completed the quest without going to her lair. I then hit level 7, increasing science to 45 and choosing the Daddy Girls perk, which brought it to 50. After that, I hacked the terminal and made my way into Vault 87, immediately hitting level 8, increasing repair, and choosing rank 3 of the Iron Fist perk. This was the last rank of the perk, but I now had an additional 15 points of damage added to the shocker, which is pretty significant. The mutant still took a lot of hits, but I persevered until meeting Forks, having to stop to repair the shocker along the way. I felt a little scummy last time using Forks, but in a way he's a poisoned human, so I allowed it. This time, however, I ignored Forks and went to retrieve the Gek myself. I donned the rad suit from Rivet City, pumped myself full of Rad-X, and collected the Gek. Colonel Autumn then took me hostage. President Eden requested a face-to-face meeting and I hit level 9, increasing repair yet again, getting it to 100. The rest went into medicine and I chose the Bloody Mess perk, increasing my overall damage by 5%. The Enclave soldiers were easier than the super mutants, although that might have been down to the Bloody Mess perk. Pow, right in the kisser. I grabbed the energy weapons bobblehead and President Eden got sad, deciding it was best to destroy the entire Enclave base than passing leadership onto someone else. How very selfish. The hardest section of Raven Rock, by far, was the 2 final Tesla soldiers. They're usually killed by the sentry bots, but this time they managed to win the battle, and for some reason, this elite soldier thought it best to directly aim a missile launcher at his feet in order to kill me. I will admit, it was quite effective. Also, Forks doesn't appear if you don't free him from his cell. That made me sad. I never knew how much seeing his little face meant to me. Now, in spirit of this run, I wanted a way of activating the purifier to be electrical, and I knew that companions could activate the purifier if you ask them to. Mostly. The only companion who is remotely electrical is Sergeant RL3, who you can buy from Tinker Tom outside the Robco facility near Tenpenny Tower. Unfortunately, he'll only join you if your karma is neutral. Somehow I'd been a good boy, that had to change. I didn't want to run around slaughtering people, so I simply interacted with Moira's terminal over and over until my karma dropped from good to neutral. After that I headed to Tinker Tom, stopping off to kill a Robo-Brain with a pulse mine, and bought RL3 for 1,000 caps. Finally, at the Citadel, Sarah Lyons gave me some armor and Liberty Prime came to life. I also hit level 10, increasing medicine. That was the only relevant skill I could think of, and I had several stimpaks I could use, no harm in making them go a little further. I also chose the Here and Now perk and hit level 11, increasing medicine to 90 and choosing the Finesse perk. Critical hits, here I come. I didn't want RL3 killing anything, so I made him wait periodically until the enemies were cleared, and then went to retrieve him. The only time that wasn't possible was inside the rotunda, since I couldn't leave once I was inside. So the 3 of us killed the 3 of them, RL3 went inside the chamber, activated the purifier, and the run was officially complete. So to answer the question, can you beat Fallout 3 using only electric? Yes, you can. Be sure to show your support by liking the video and subscribing if you haven't already for more Fallout content. If there's anything you would like to see in a later video, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. With that said, thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.